see everyone. To begin, I'd like to thank Ryan, Rosemary, Hannah, Katie, Michelle, and the development staff for attending to the myriad of details and making this event possible today. It was a lot of work. You may have noticed in some of our most recent printed materials, like our annual reports, that there's a theme of hope this year. Hope is something that is core to the work that we do. And hope has always helped me to overcome challenges. Right after grad school, early on in my career, I experienced a job layoff, followed by a long job search during a really tough time. Not long after that, I had 3 deaths in my family. My mom, brother, and sister-in-law, all in a very short period of time. This left me feeling angry, alone, and in despair, and wondering where the proverbial axe was going to fall next. My hope was wavering. But thanks to faith, some outside help, and people believing in me to help me get through those trying times, I found a job, in that the future could once again hold promise and even joy. Hope won out. It's what kept me going, and it's what keeps us going at Catholic Charities. For the work that we do perpetuates the gift of hope. And I'm reminded of that in conversations with staff, with clients, and with residents every day. And looking at this past year, you stood there with us through your collective support as an exceptional board and as committee members and long-term donors. This, coupled with our responsive and compassionate staff, is a wonderful example of collaborative and servant leadership. Thank you. We've had a really busy year at Catholic Charities, filled with grace, with a lot of things that have come together because of your help. So I'd like to share with you a few highlights from the past year. Firstly, we've assumed the operations and management of the Caregivers Organization last fall and have led them back to stability. Caregivers serves approximately 300 seniors with a cadre of about 200 volunteers in the greater Manchester and Nashua areas through at-home food delivery and transportation to medical appointments. The goal is to keep seniors independent in their homes for as long as possible. Secondly, we started a new culture initiative that began with a leadership development series throughout the past year for directors and mid-level managers. We also established a new core staff work group that is taking a deep dive into re-examining our work culture and core values, with the goal of presenting their final recommendations next month at our staff retreat. They will also help to champion and steward this program over the next several years. Very excited about this. Last May, this past May, our board moved to sell one of our underperforming nursing facilities in Bedford. This was a one-time only event. The proceeds from that sale not only covered some operating losses, but also allowed us to set up a scholarship fund for 10 nursing assistants from our nursing facilities to earn their LPN degree and the opportunity to earn a wage that is almost 2/3 greater than their current salaries. I think that's amazing. Additionally, secondary to the sale, we set up a $500,000 fund to develop new case management services to address the needs of homebound seniors in the greater Manhattan region. On a proud note, we received national awards from the American Healthcare Association for 4 of our administrators this year. The Eli Pick Leadership Award. Marlene, Joe, who are Joe's, Jeff, Brenda, if you can all raise your hands. Thank you for your dedication to service and excellence. You make us proud. Finally, in looking at creative ways to manage our own staffing concerns, This summer, we opened our own staffing agency, St. Jacinta Healthcare Staffing, and have already begun placing nurses in our nursing facilities. We look forward to this staffing solution increasing our level of care and retention while decreasing stress on existing staff and our costs for contract staffing. Within the next year, again, thanks to your support, on the healthcare front, and looking to help strengthen and diversify our long-term care portfolio, within the next 2 months, at Ward Rehab and Health Center in Windham, we will transform the upper part of the campus with a new 10-bed assisted living unit for retired priests and a new 21-bed unit that will house senior independent living. Stay tuned for open house in the new year. Secondly, within the next month, our aim is to merge with Liberty House. Welcome. A Manchester-based Liberty House is a Manchester-based nonprofit that serves at-risk veterans who have been other than honorably discharged due to mental health and or substance misuse issues, and who don't qualify for VA services. Between our two organizations, it's a natural marriage of missions. Our goal is to augment their case management services and to create a new, larger transitional living space at Bishop Peterson residence in Manchester that will more than double Liberty House's current housing capacity. Thirdly, we're planning to start a new program called On Track. Through this, we'll work with vulnerable community college students to increase low graduation rates by employing navigators and life coaches here in Manchester and we hope in Berlin as well. These life coaches will provide intensive, consistent, and timely wraparound services that will focus in parts on education completion and financial literacy training as pathways out of poverty. This program truly honors the dignity of each person by helping them to discover their intrinsic value and by supporting them in their path toward accountability toward their own success. Lastly, we're nipping at the tail of Maine, which is currently identified as the nation's first super-aged state, where 20% of their population is now over age 65. By 2026, just a little over 6 years away, New Hampshire, in addition to 15 other states, is headed toward that dubious distinction. Dubious because nationally we're in a crisis in regards to addressing the future healthcare needs of our seniors. It's a scarcity issue related to finite resources on various fronts, and an issue that we'll address on a much deeper level while developing our new 3-year strategic plan this fall. Earlier on, I spoke about hope and alluded to grace. At Catholic Charities, the building blocks of hope are embedded into our practical life plans, our compassionate immigration, case management, and counseling work, our life-changing school on St. Charles's campus, our expansive food distribution through the New Hampshire Food Bank, and our exceptional healthcare delivery at our 7 nursing facilities across the state. And these building blocks of hope are edified by the wonder of God's abundant grace that's manifested for those who come to us seeking help, seeking healing, and seeking hope, seeking to find their best self. Take Stan, for example. After a couple of years of helping Stan with life planning and financial planning, he reached out for help to heat his rented home. He had a part-time job and was attempting self-employment, but that became complicated by a series of mini-strokes. His wife worked full-time in a low-paying job, and between the two of them, they were just trying to keep it together for their high school-aged children still living at home. You can imagine how hard hope was to hold on to in a situation like this. One of our staff members believed in Stan and helped him to find a path. She assisted him in how to more effectively handle creditors who had really undermined his confidence in ever getting ahead. At the same time, she actively worked with and encouraged him to reignite his search for stable, full-time employment. Well, last month, we got an email from Stan stating that he started a full-time municipal job with a good salary and benefits, including, for the first time, healthcare coverage. Now he'll be better able to address his healthcare needs more fully. He has a solid plan to pay off his debt and can envision a brighter future. For Stan, hope won out. At Catholic Charities, every person matters. They each have their own story and unique set of circumstances they bring to the table. And often it's that one person who believes in them or takes the time to show them life's ropes who helps to change the trajectory of their life. To expound a bit further, let's also look at the difference not only one person makes, but one word makes. Consider matter, for example. When we add just one letter and one word, I, to it, we have a totally different meaning. I matter. And isn't this what we all truly want in this world? To know that we matter? The work of Catholic Charities illuminates this, restores hope, and leads others to look anew in the mirror and boldly tell themselves, I matter, because Catholic Charities accepted me for who I am and where I was when I came to them. Thank you all for being here this afternoon, for believing in and supporting our work. Thank you also for your servant hearts and your common commitment to helping us move lives forward. In the end, day after day, story after story, client after client, because of our dynamic and responsive programs at Catholic Charities, grace radiates, compassion emanates, and hope wins, all because of you. Now, I'd like to introduce Father Nelson. He is the pastor at St. Ignatius of Loyola Parish in Somersworth, and I think you covered Rollinsford as well, right? Rollinsford. To come up for our keynote address.
Thank you, Tom, for those wonderful words, and most importantly, thank all of you for your presence here tonight, for your support of Catholic Charities, and for not only believing in hope, but investing. Recently, I was visiting with a parishioner at the parish, and our conversation led to where it often does in my little part of the world. And it's a little 29-pound rescue dog that works in the office with us, and a little dog by the name of Bandit. For context, Bandit is a little gray version of Benji, and is cute and adorable. You can actually follow him on Instagram at Holy Bandit, #Catholic. I'm not joking, please come back. As a parishioner and I were talking, though, something kept coming back to my mind. It was the strange reality of the world in which we currently find ourselves. We live in the most connected and wired moment in history, yet most people are more disconnected now than they've ever been. People regularly boast of having many friends on Facebook, but live more isolated than perhaps any other time in history. What does it have to do about my dog and our presence here tonight? Actually, I think quite a lot. What I've noticed over the past 2 years since I adopted my little Bandit is not only how incredibly cute he is, but how incredibly kind people are to animals. When he first arrived, Bandit would hide under the table, and he'd be antisocial when people came in the office. If I tried to pick him up, he would snarl and try to bite me. Today, he's gentle and a sweet soul. He sleeps most of the day, and the roughness around the edges is gone. He's a big teddy bear. But the funny thing is that no matter how many times he barked at people, no matter how much he hid or exhibited antisocial behavior, everyone's response was the same. He's a rescue. He's been through a lot. Give him space, love, and time. He's had a hard start to life. To this day, no one has failed to give him a break, nor the benefit of redemption. I say that because I think it is more often in the world we live a sharp contrast to how we treat people. We live in a one-strike and you're out world. We shower our animals with love. The transformation takes time. But when it comes to people, as a culture, we rarely have time or make time. We rarely make the space needed for new beginnings and transformations. Quite frankly, Increasingly, we don't leave room for hope. And as we live in a world increasingly detached from moral and religious moorings, life has largely become a no-sum game. Just look at politics today. Actually, I'd probably encourage you not to. And this is where Christ comes in. This is where our faith comes in. This is where Catholic Charity comes in, and this is where you come in. The fundamental reality of our faith is that the God who made the heavens and the earth enters into the world in the person of Jesus Christ. God enters into the world, into the messiness of it all, and walks with us, accompanies us, and does the one thing that government and leaders and celebrities cannot. He brings redemption and hope. God never shuts the door on hope, and neither should we. In fact, God is the door of hope through which we must all cross. I remember a few years ago when I was stationed in Manchester, I stepped outside the cathedral after Mass one morning. To be honest, I wanted to be seen by the cars driving by, not for me, but that maybe a soul that had wandered away might be reminded that the presence of faith is still in the world, that there might be a glimmer of hope, that in some way someone driving down the street would be reminded that God always calls. He's always speaking. As I stood on the sidewalk there was an older gentleman walking down the street. He was downcast and downtrodden. He never put his head, the whole time he walked down the sidewalk, he never lifted his head. In truth, he had lost far too much dignity for that. He was a broken man. I did what anyone would do. I reached out my hand and with a big smile said, "Hello, good morning." I said, "My name's Father Andrew, what's yours?" And the man was taken off guard and slowly looked up and he said, "My name's Jack." Not sure how he might respond, I took a chance. I bet him and said, "Jack, I have a crazy question. I'm a priest, I eat alone a lot. I don't want to eat alone today. Would you care to join me for lunch? My treat." He said, "Sure, I guess." He looked up and you could see a flicker of life coming back into his eyes. 20 minutes later, we were on Elm Street at a little cafe eating. And over the next few months, Jack and I would meet regularly for lunch. We talked, we laughed, and most importantly, we walked together. I quickly connected him with the right people, including many people here in this room tonight. And they did what family does. They walked with him. And they not only encouraged him, they cared long enough to stick around until things were set right. To step out of the neat boxes of bureaucracy and help. In Jack's case, to help him figure out how to rebuild his life, to get things like benefits which he had lost. Jack was homeless. He lost everything in life, and quite frankly, he was broken by it. He did not know where to begin anew. His problems weren't unsurmountable. He just needed help clearing the clouds of despair and hopelessness that can sometimes enslave the human heart. People like to use the phrase, "Well, pull yourself up by your bootstraps." The truth of the matter is sometimes people are so broken by life, they lack the strength to do it alone. And they need some help along the way. It was not long after we met that Jack started to come to Mass. And every morning at 7 a.m., he would arrive. I suppose it was helped by the fact that at the shelter they would ask everyone to leave just before 7 each morning. But I think it was more than that. He was always there. And before long, Jack wasn't alone. He started bringing friends with him to Mass in the morning. First a young man in his 30s, and then a woman in her 50s, and then a Muslim convert to Catholicism, a runaway, and a man named Matt, who was an alcoholic and struggling with many addictions, and a variety of others. There in the back of the chapel, their bags would be carefully lined up each morning, their phones plugged into the outlets to charge again. And before long, that back row of the chapel was filled with people looking for new beginnings, hungering for the very hope we speak of tonight. I've often wondered what happened to them all since I was transferred to that little church family that assembled over the months. I know some of their stories, but not all of them. I know each night the meals they received were supported in part by our food pantry. I know that they were served by Catholic Charities volunteers along the way. And I know that the paths of many of their stories are intertwined to the faces that you may recognize from Catholic Charities over the years, and some you might not. Like the 50-year-old woman who sat in that back row, who found herself homeless despite being an LNA. Her family situation had changed, and she had to make a split-second decision, and she ended up on the street. I remember the day that I called Tom Blonski directly and said, I need your help. I need to cut through all the red tape and hoops. Here's the story. And that's when Tom did the thing he always does. He takes the bull by the horns and he said, let's do it, Father. And they made a few calls, and before I knew it, the woman was working again at one of our homes. And the staff at the home she worked at collected clothes to help her, and one of the women in the office made sure they'd pick her up when it snowed out, because it was a long way to work. But she had a new lease on life. She started over again. Not every story ended well, but in that moment of our brothers and sisters in need, they were given what they so hungered for: faith, hope, and love. In that moment, in every moment, what we do as people of faith is we give love. We give all that we have. There was the runaway at the back of the church. He disappeared one day. I like to think he reconnected with his old family and friends, but I worry for him. Or there's Matt, the middle-aged man who was struggling with an addiction to alcohol and other things. I followed part of his story. He's a man that was known, quite frankly, by caseworkers in Manchester. And then when he moved to the seacoast, to Somersworth, the caseworkers knew him there as well. He thought he'd try his luck back in his old stomping grounds. I worked with him for over a year, and each morning he'd make the journey from just behind Hope Depot, where he lived in a tent, to the church for Mass. Most days he did well, but after that first winter, with the help of a few friends, including some here, we put him on a bus to Florida because he didn't want cold winters anymore. Then we started to get letters from Florida telling us how he was doing, and then they stopped. I still remember that fateful day when I decided to track him down when I was visiting friends in Florida. I took the envelope from his last letter and made my way to an old motel. To this day, it vividly is in my mind as the absolute worst place I've ever been my entire life. It was the scariest place. I walked out to the second floor of a boarded-up motel just outside of Daytona Beach. I knocked on the door, and when Matt answered room number 17, he was in a stupor. And he was half the man he was the last time I saw him. Addiction had taken hold, and it was not loosening its grip. I stood at the door of his motel room, and I said the only thing I could. Matt, it's Father Andrew, your priest from your parish in New Hampshire. And I just want you to know that God loves you, and so does your parish. And then the door was shut. I walked back down the stairs of the motel, and I knew I would never see him again. And then one day I would need to go tell his mother in the nursing home that her son had passed. Not all stories end well, but we do the one thing we can. We walk with people. We love them. And we remind them of a hope that is far greater than this moment we find ourselves in. You know, there's that matter of Jack. Thanks to the help of volunteers here tonight, people sat with him and got his benefits restored. And Jack, who lived at the homeless shelter in Manchester, started to rebuild his life. And shortly after I was transferred, I wondered, would I ever hear from him again? And then, a few months ago, the phone rang when I was in the office late at night. And Jack had looked up and tried to figure out where everyone was. And he said, "Father Andrew, I got a house. I saved up and I got a house and I'm living outside of Lancaster. I want you to know I'm fixing up the house so that I can sell it and I'll get another house." He said, "I want you to know, and I want every one of the people who supported me along the way to know I'm doing well." And then he hung up the phone. If I were to stand up here this evening and say that everything we do with your help has a successful and happy ending by the standards of this world, I would be lying to you. For every victory there is a loss. For every Jack there is a Matt. But as people of faith, we don't measure things in the way this world measures things. The work of Catholic Charities is not about statistics and numbers. It's not even about glowing successes. It's about working to end a poverty that is far deeper than money and things. It is about people, about walking with men and women and people in every moment of life and lifting not up only their hearts, but their human dignity. And reminding them that our hope is not in the things of this world, but the next. It's about reminding them that not only what hope is, but where hope is. As a priest, I've read many spiritual books. I've been to countless conferences and spiritual directors over the years. And through it all, the single and most important words I have ever heard of advice were about hope. And they were from an elderly priest who simply looked me square in the eye and said, "And remember, Satan always waits for us in despair, and Christ always waits for us in hope." Go to hope. In the end, that's it, isn't it? Satan, with all his lies and ways, whispers to every human heart, to each of us here, to the brothers and sisters we serve, and tries to convince us that there is no hope, that there is no redemption for this world or for ourselves. You think about that for a moment. That's what hell is, isn't it? The place where there's no hope of heaven, hopelessness. Well, Satan tries to create his little hells on earth in the human heart and convince us that we are beyond redemption and hope's reach, that we're beyond God himself. In Christ, he is not only real, he waits for us in hope. He reminds us there is always a way forward, a way to rebirth, a way to renewal, a way to life. Christ reminds us that hope is not lost, that salvation has been won. Christ is our hope, and in hope we encounter his very presence. Christ always waits for us in hope. Go to hope.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. Next, I'd like to welcome and call up Joan Brosnahan to share her Catholic Charities experience.
Good evening. Another wonderful day that you'll have. Another day to be thankful, but hopeful for another good day tomorrow.
This is not going to be easy, so bear with me. I have a wonderful story to tell you. I'm here to share my journey in connection to Catholic Charities of New Hampshire. It has taken many
When I was asked to speak here today, I have to tell you, I was extremely excited because this has been one of the most exciting things and wonderful things in my life. I was born in 1956. I was placed with a loving family. I always said I could not have handpicked any parents any better than what I was given. In 1991, I had some health issues. I was always asked by the doctors about family medical history, of which I knew nothing. My adoptive mother suggested I contact Catholic Charities NH and see if they could help me. I got a call back from Elaine Langton, a social worker of the Maternities and Adoption Division. She sent pages to me with non-identifying information, but there was no medical information. But there was a sentence at the bottom of that page. It read, "Your birth mother had a baby boy in 1953.
Was she also placed for adoption? He is your full brother.
Wow, I thought. My only hope was then to eventually find him. Over time, my health issues became far more serious. In 2017, I finally decided to find my family. I had no clue what was involved. The decision to do this was really an emotional roller coaster for me. For months, and actually even a couple of years before that, I struggled feeling extremely guilty, as if I were going to be betraying my adoptive parents because they were both so wonderful. Both of them had been gone at this point for several years. They really were the best of them. I reached out again to Catholic Charities. I got a call back from guess who? Even Langton. Having never actually met the woman, I figured she must be eligible. Well, we met a week later in Manchester at her office. She came down to greet me, and I started laughing. I'm sure I had a very strange look on my face, and when I turned and she kind of caught an eye, she said, "Bet you're expecting an older lady." Well, yes, I was, and I couldn't lie. It was at that time that I found out that we are the exact same age. The first thing when we got upstairs, I told her about was all that terrible feelings of betrayal. After a long discussion, a lot of tears, and using at least 2 bottles of her Kleenex, I finally realized somebody understood how I felt. It made sense to someone. All my friends and family were telling me your parents would want you to do this, your adoptive parents. They would be thrilled. They always offered to help you. You shouldn't feel guilty, but I did. Elaine was the only one that understood. She went on to explain the entire process, the inner search, and what possibilities of things could happen as they happen. She said, well, in the case of the brother, he may not want to be found. He may not want to respond to my letter, and he may not want to meet me. I said, what do you mean he wouldn't want to meet me? Who wouldn't want to meet me and have me as a little sister? Well, you know, he did respond. Now, to get my original birth certificate. For a while, I understand a lot of states still do not allow adopted people to get their original birth certificates. Luckily, Elaine Wall laws, I could now get it in New Hampshire. So, another very emotional and probably the scariest day of this whole process. In early May of that year, I went to Vital Records in Concord and got my birth certificate. Sounds easy, it wasn't. The woman handed me the paper upside down in the window. I couldn't pick it up. I started crying. After a few moments, I took the paper, I went and I sat down, sitting there crying. Finally said, okay, I gotta do this. I turned it over. There was my birth mother's real name and my birth name. If that wasn't a shock at the age of 60, I don't know what is. The woman was very surprised that I did not know any of this information. I did not. Unbelievably, that same day, when I got back to the computer, I looked up my mother's name, my birth mother's name, and I found out that she had passed away in March of that very year. just months before I found out her name at the age of 93. So I may have a lot of health issues, but I intend to outlive her. I had a wonderful family life before. Now I'm starting new chapters. My brother Skip and I have shared a lot, and we're still getting to know one another. We've even gotten to meet a couple of our cousins. Their reactions really were priceless. As I've come to learn, I am a spitting image of my birth mom. And Skip bears a striking resemblance also. If you want to see what Skip looks like, I know it's on the blog, but our picture is also in tonight's report. If you haven't read the blog, I encourage you to please do so. You will be taking the journey with me. Believe me, there is a lot that has been left out, but you will get the basic idea of how emotional this entire process has taken. So there you have it, my connection to Catholic Charities and the life they found me. I am most grateful for them always having been there through the years. They should be proud of the organization's professionalism and privacy.
I will say, for some people, Catholic Charities does not know what gave me. Now is my guardian angel, Elaine Langton. Elaine has cried with me, laughed with me, spent numerous hours on my behalf, helping and meeting with me. And oh yeah, she's actually been to court with me twice too. But I assure you it was nothing criminal, it was all helping me look for medical information. My hope is that one day adoption records with medical information is required to be passed on to all adoptive children and adults. I'm sure there are many people that have struggled with what I have. I still have very little information. But I understand from Elaine that I guess this is in the process now. There's a questionnaire that goes out. I have 2 pieces of jewelry on with me tonight. I have a pair of earrings from my adopted mom, the last thing she gave me before she died. And I have on a diamond necklace that belonged to my birth mother that one of those cousins gave me. So I want you all to know, because of you people, they are both here with me tonight. And I thank you very much for listening to my story.
Thank you, Joan. Elaine, thank you. Last month, we lost a near and dear former board member and member of our healthcare and audit committees, Claudia Mahar. We deeply appreciate and are forever grateful for all that she contributed to our organization and for how much she meant to each of us individually. Claudia was a consummate giver on so many levels, which was always accompanied by her warm, inviting, and all-embracing smile. We will and do miss her terribly. Please keep her and her family in your prayers in the months to come. Thank you. This year we say goodbye to one of our longstanding board members who has served 6 years, has done a phenomenal job, Jamie Coughlin. He served as a chair of our program evaluation committee and just was tremendous in terms of his thoughtfulness, in terms of pushing us to really delve into social enterprise opportunities, intense intellect, great energy, and wonderful heart. We will present Jamie more fully a dedication and thanks for his service at our fall retreat as he is not here this evening. So moving on, we will now present our In His Footsteps Award for some staff recognitions. Dominique and Mark Kuzno, if you can come up, and they will both be followed by Brett Pomeroy.
So you should all know that I'm French, which means since I speak with my hands. So I apologize to everyone on this side. They're most likely going to get hit with the microphone as I swing it. The In His Footsteps Award is given to an employee who is among the best of the best and who truly demonstrates performance above and beyond expectations. Their actions and work exemplify our values of respect, collaboration, compassion, and integrity. The individual receiving the award is someone who serves others with humility and empowers others with their actions, which reflect the mission of Catholic Charities. The employees within our parish community outreach department wear many, many hats. They meet with clients seeking services, are in contact with parish priests and staffs, must know what other resources are available throughout their community, be attentive to emerging needs, and have a working knowledge of all other Catholic Charities programs, to name but a few. The winner of this year's award has done all that and is immersed in her community to her very soul. She is a strong voice and advocate for the communities and residents of all ages in the North Country. She has been a long-standing member of the school board. She was an integral part of a donation of a building to Catholic Charities that would become our Northern Regional Service Center. She helped us in getting a contract to provide services with the Berlin Housing Authority at the St. Regis Housing Project for elderly and disabled. And she's currently knee-deep with us in a brand new initiative that we just can't quite talk about yet today. She is tenacious, enthusiastic, and a force to be reckoned with when it comes to those who live in northern New Hampshire.
So, to Nicole Plourde, a true servant leader, we present the In His Footsteps Award. Nicole, congratulations.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to thank all of you, thank my family for coming. That was a surprise. I am so incredibly blessed and grateful to be able to work for this organization that is so near and dear to my heart. And I feel incredibly blessed by the staff and the leadership that has allowed us to look at other ideas to pursue and to grow, and I just cannot thank them enough. Thank you, all of you, for not just this, but more importantly, for my heart, my home with Catholic Charities. Thank you.
Is the administrator of our healthcare facility in Wyndham, New Hampshire.
Thank you, Dominic. I'm so happy that I'm able to stand here before you tonight and introduce Bernie. I first met Bernie a little over 3 years ago when I took my first tour of board. I was just in the interview process. I didn't know what to expect. And she greeted me with enthusiasm, a huge smile, and I knew that that was the place I needed to be. She embodied what we do at Ward. She embodied what we do at Catholic Charities. It's about family, it's about people, it's about relationships. And I never experienced that at any other place I worked before. And I knew right then and there that was the place I needed to be. I've been a receptionist with us for over the past 13 years. I don't have enough time tonight to go over her talents and skills. There's so many, very, very numerous. But I will share one of my favorite stories about Bernie. Don't worry, it's nothing too embarrassing. I left those for later. So every so often you'll see on the activities calendars Bernie's batches. And this is when our residents are treated to a cooking show. So I remember the last one, right in the lobby, Bernie's up there, she's like a resident emerald chef. And she's cooking, she's showing the residents, this is the food, she's having warm conversation about meals they may have made in the past, sharing great stories about, especially her Italian cooking. And I could smell it from my office, so obviously I had to come out and see what was going on. That also embodies what she does. It's so much above and beyond her duties, her job description. It's about the people there. It's making those connections. I cannot think of a more deserving person for the In Her Footsteps Award, or in His Footsteps Award. Thank you, Bernie, for always brightening not only my day, but everybody that you surround. Thank you.
Catholic Charities with our Guardian Angel Award. This year we're honoring an individual who has dedicated his heart and his soul for our organization over the last several decades. Way back in 1991, Pat Ford Sr. joined the Catholic Charities Board of Incorporators and hasn't looked back since. Throughout those years, he, along with his beautiful late wife, Ruthie, worked with Catholic Charities in various capacities. As a board member, as a finance committee member, as a fundraiser, as an advocate, and as a mentor. He never shied away from a challenge and often approached it as a new opportunity. Pat has seen all of our bumps and bruises, has seen us through the good and bad, through the creation and sunsetting of different programs and services, and has always assisted our development efforts along the way in a nurturing and supportive manner. As a result of this, we grew in ways we never thought possible. Pat is deeply analytical, wonderfully strategic, and incredibly intuitive. He led us through 2 strategic plans and has always offered positive, insightful, and solid guidance. He's volunteered countless hours of his time, supported our events, and most importantly, has been a tremendous sounding board and advocate for all that we do. Finally, Pat embodies the idea that our Christian faith demands deeds, not just words. That our hour of prayer should actually last the whole week long. That to put our faith in action is more than individual salvation. It's about our collective salvation. That to feed the hungry and clothe the naked, to advocate for the often invisible poor, and to serve the pregnant and parenting homeless women is not just a call for isolated charity, but an imperative of a just society. This is how Pat lives his faith, applies his faith with a robust conviction. And he's left a wonderful legacy and call to action for service and servant leadership to his children. Tim is involved with board work with the Catholic education system in New Hampshire. Julie Ford Bailey has served on our healthcare committee in the past and chairs the board of New Generations Women's Shelter in Greenland. And Pat Ford Jr. was elected just hours ago as one of our newest board members. What a legacy indeed. Pat, thank you for the gift you have been to all of us on so many levels for so long. You are truly an unsung hero to many. So without further ado, it's with great pleasure that I and we recognize Pat Ford Sr. as the series recipient of the Guardian Angel Award.
Thank you, my friends, for this just really tremendous honor. I'm very grateful to you. Indeed, I'm humbled for being up here today. It's been my distinct pleasure to be associated with Catholic Charities for over a third of our nearly 75 years. They have been years of explosive growth. To cite just a few accomplishments, the building of the food bank, the growth of our immigration, counseling and legal services, the expansion of our family and parish community services, outreach programs to really every corner of the state. We have new programs for reaching homebound and disabled. And of course, my favorite, if I'm allowed to have a favorite, and I do, is our place that provides for the needs of women and their families and teaches prenatal and child-rearing skills to nurture the success of young families. Charity services that heal, comfort, and empower the needy throughout the state have been adjusted many times over the years, as Tom has mentioned, for the changes that have taken place in our society. We now reach 1 in 13 New Hampshire citizens, and we are the largest non-governmental charitable organization in the state. They stick together. I'm always impressed with charities' fundraising capabilities. We are able to organize and to stimulate everyone throughout the church in New Hampshire at one time, whether it's those who give from their excess, or whether it's those who give the widow's mite. You leave everyone with the feeling of having contributed to the well-being of their needy brothers and sisters. It's really a grace-filled time for everyone, so that everyone has the feeling they do for one another as Christ has done for them. So, a warm and gracious thank you to all of our staff members, to all of our business leaders, community leaders who serve on the boards in the community, to all of our volunteers, and to all of our donors. You are what makes Catholic Charities so great. I think often and reflect on the fact that the church can take great comfort in knowing that its social mission is in the good hands of Catholic Charities. It's indeed noble work that all of you do. So I thank you again for all of your selfless dedication, and God bless you all.